Gen mémoire qui pas jamais mourir. Gen racine qui kembe yon peuple campé. Vodou, c'est pas seulement la foi. C'est identité. C'est héritage. C'est force non. Nous sortis dans de l'eau. Nous marcher sous terre. Nous respirer en bas vent. C'est dans diffé nous joindre la vie. Les tambours parlent, c'est l'esprit qui répond. C'est l'esprit qui répond.
Bao na brele bao, bao na brele bao, bao la kwa mutendo amupuya bunga base, mutendo amupuya bunga base.
So what tribe are you from? Ido. Okay, so how do you say customs and institutions of a town? Amamiemieye. Alright. What of female head of a village or of a community? Amananarao. What of male head of a community? Amananowe. Okay, that's fair. What do you call an inspector? Amadibo. And what do you call ground, the soil? Amakiri. Okay, so what do you call rain clouds? Amatoro. What do you call town, village, or community? Ama. And what do you call the collective spirit of a community? Amatemeso. Okay, what do you call domestic dog? Amaodoguma. What of clay for molding? Amakotoko. What of a chief of a town? Amadabo. When you want to say turn around, like turn around. Amarai. What do you call the name of the medicine used in curing headache? Amasadibi. So how do you say in the town, the customs and institutions guided the female head of the village and the male head of the village, while the inspector checks the ground and the land of the town, as rain clouds gathered over the village, and the collective spirit of the town washed over the domestic dock and the clay used for molding, while the chief of the town turned around to hand a herb used for curing headaches to the villagers. Amabo amamiemyegimo amananowemo amananaramo dinimi ania amatibo amasedi bentimi fiebi amatorobo amasingemi mawai amatameso bo amamo mawai amadobo mamo amakotoko motibemi mawai amadabo mo amarai amasedrina amaseperebemi.
Te fuiste una noche sin mirar atrás, dejando en mi mesa tu risa y tu sal. La luna fue testigo de mi soledad y el silencio habló cuando no estaba más. Promesas al viento, palabras sin fe. Yo di lo que tuve, tú no sé por qué. La calle me escucha volver a cantar, con pena en el pecho pero en pie igual. No voy a rogarte, no voy a caer.
Support the preservation of a vital cultural tradition. Vodou faces erasure and misrepresentation in today's world. Your support ensures Vodou's future and cultural integrity. Help preserve this vital culture today. Support the preservation of a vital cultural tradition. Vodou faces erasure and misrepresentation in today's world. Your support ensures Vodou's future and cultural integrity. Help preserve this vital culture today. Support the preservation.
Honor and respect, honor and respect, honor and respect. Divine all blessed greetings and salutations. It is another edition of Revolutionary Voodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets with Steves. Voodoo Hoodoo 101, powered, produced, promoted, sponsored, and supported by NOIVD, New Orleans International Vodou Day. New Orleans International Vodou Day exists to restore rightful dignity, authority, and global recognition to the Voodoo family of traditions. Our mission, purpose, and the motive behind New Orleans International Vodou Day forms a single coherent vision to protect, unify, and elevate Vodou, and Voodoo as living world traditions, deep ancestral, cultural, and spiritual authority. Our mission frames NOIVD not as a festival, but as a cultural embassy for Voodoo worldwide. NOIVD responds to the urgent needs of this very moment, a time when Voodoo is simultaneously sought after, while yet misunderstood and misrepresented. Our purpose unfolds across several dimensions. NOIVD exists to protect the traditions from harm. NOIVD confronts misrepresentation in media, exploitation by uninitiated practitioners, cultural theft and commodification, historical trauma and colonial narratives. And by establishing standards of authority, NOIVD becomes a shield for the traditions and the communities that carry them forward. NOIVD serves as a platform for the public teaching, ceremonial demonstration, scholarly dialogue, youth and community education, and the authentic practice of Voodoo worldwide. This ensures that what the world learns about Voodoo comes from real practitioners, not stereotypes or unconnected persons. Please do continue to partnership with us as we continue our Republic of Benin partnership, our Haitian cultural and leadership partnership, our New Orleans cultural institutions, as well as global diasporic connections. And we position Voodoo as a diplomatic presence and cultural power worldwide. We invite your continued support, participation, and visitation, promotion of these events, donations, and sponsorship of this powerful legacy and expanding international endeavor. Please continue to visit us for connection and more information and updates by participating, volunteering, and supporting in our symposium, our Afro Ecology exhibit, our art exhibit on Saturday, May 23rd at Xavier University, our procession from the river to Congo Square on May 24th, NOIVD Day. And please continue to visit us at www.vodouday.org, www.vodouday.org for more information. We're certainly grateful for your continued support and participation on all social media platforms and locations where you may find our QR code located in the upper left corner of your screen now, or by way of the scrolling URL at the bottom up or the top of your screen right now, depending on your orientation. And we're certainly grateful for those who join us by way of all of our various Facebook pages, profiles, groups, certainly our regional, local, national, and international listenership and participation by way of LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter X, Instagram, and certainly we're always thankful for those who show up and support us here live in chat, our beloved community member here on the ground, hands on, as well as in the virtual spaces. Daniel Neal, we certainly appreciate your continued support. our beloved Ray Alexander, thank you so much for your continued support and participation. Our house brother and member of La Source, Jeff Austin, we certainly do appreciate your continued support, participation, and attention to the podcast. And greetings to my beloved Nina Lloyd, my beloved. We certainly do continue to pray and show support for you and yours. And Apostle Hudson, greetings and salutations to you and yours. And certainly those who join us on panel, our beloved executive and producer and director, Tyson Allen Horn of the Horn Brothers, as well as an initiated member of my house, an initiated member of La Source, and a co-administrator for NOIVD, Tyson Horn. Our beloved Queen Mother, Sister Tony Val Martinez, community mother, community activist, community agitator, and certainly resource person. We certainly appreciate your continued support and participation. My first priest, armor bearer, and Black Hawk Voodoo Wild Man, initiated member of my house, as well as La Source, Joshua Nyland Tanner, and a committed member of NOIVD, and a initiated member, our beloved sister of La Source, Bianca Johnson Plessy, also a committed team member for NOIVD. I certainly will be unmuting you all momentarily. And as always, we are grateful for your energy, your ashe, your say, your presence here on this platform. I could not do this without you. We certainly are grateful for your continued support and participation. Tonight, as we move forward, we begin a new topic, similar subject matter, but a new topic. Then and now, Black churches, Catholic churches, Voodoo, Hoodoo, Islam, Santeria, from Ouida to New Orleans. And I'm not sure who inspired this conversation. Someone was mentioning it on the last broadcast, but tonight we're going to move forward in that theme. Beloved family, children of the motherland and the diaspora, if you can hear me tonight, let the ancestors say Ayibobo. If you can feel the spirit moving, let the people say Ashe. Because tonight, we stand at the crossroads of history, memory, and destiny. Tonight we call the names of the lands that birthed us: Ouida, Benin, Dahomey, Yoruba country, Congo, Angola, West, Central, and Southern Africa. And we call the lands that carried our spirit forward: Haiti, the Caribbean, the West Indies, Brazil, Cuba, Central and South America, and the sacred soil of New Orleans, Louisiana. Tonight we gather not in confusion, but in continuity, not in division, but in divine connection, not in fear, but in fire. Because the African spirit has never been broken, not by chains, not by ships, not by colonizers, not by time, not by distance, not by doctrine. Someone please respond to Camille in the podcast text. We are still here. We are still rising. We are still remembering. Before the Middle Passage, before the auction blocks, before the plantation, our people lived in a world where the sacred was not separated from the soil. We knew the Creator as vast. We knew the spirits as many. We knew the ancestors as ever present. And we knew the land as active. And when the ships came, when the chains came, when the darkness came, our people carried the one thing no one could steal: the voodoo, their cosmology, their memory, their spiritual technology. Say Ashe if you know that truth. When our people reached Haiti, Cuba, Brazil, New Orleans, the Catholic Church tried to force a new faith upon them. But the ancestors said, we see our own faces your saints. They saw Urzali in the Virgin. They saw Ogu in St. James. They saw Legba in St. Peter. They saw the ancestors in the incense, the candles, the altars. And they said, if you won't let us worship openly, we will worship through your images. If you won't let us call our spirits by name, we will call them by yours. That wasn't deception, that was divine strategy. That wasn't hiding, that was survival. That wasn't submission, that was revolution. Somebody say Ayibobo. And then came the Black church, born out of struggle, born out of sorrow, born out of hope. But listen to me. Even when the people shouted amen, Africa was still speaking. Even when they sang hymns, the ancestors were still humming. Even when they marched down the aisle, the spirits were still walking. The ring shout, Africa. The moaning, Africa. The call and response, Africa. The laying on of hands, Africa. The prophetic dream, Africa. The funeral traditions, Africa. The Black church was not a replacement, it was a continuation. Somebody say Ashe if you feel that. Long before the slave ships, Islam was already rooted in West Africa. Scholars, griots, warriors, traders, many were Muslim. And even when the system tried to silence their prayers, the memory remained. The head wrap, the purification, the recitation, the discipline, the devotion, the unity. Islam did not arrive in the diaspora, it returned. Santeria in Cuba, Candomblé in Brazil, Obia in Jamaica, Hoodoo in the American South, Vodou in Haiti, Voodoo in New Orleans. Different languages, different colonizers, different histories. Same root, same rhythm, same rhythm. These traditions are not revivals, they are relatives. Not enemies, but extensions. They are not contradictions, but confirmations. Say Ayibobo if you know the truth. So today in the 21st century, the walls are falling. Black Catholics are honoring their ancestors. Black Muslims are reclaiming African mysticism. Black Christians are rediscovering the spiritual technologies their grandmothers practiced in secret. Root workers are studying Yoruba. Priests are traveling back to Benin. And the diaspora is circling back to the motherland. We are not lost, we are returning. We are not confused, we are remembering. We are not divided, we are reuniting. And New Orleans International Vodou Day is the great reunion. New Orleans International Vodou Day is not just a celebration, it is a homecoming, a healing, a reclamation. It is the moment when every path, the Black church, the Catholic church, the Muslim community, the Vodou temples, the Hoodoo root workers, the Santeria houses, the Yoruba Ilays can stand together and say, we are many traditions, but one people. We are many languages, but one lineage. We are many practices, but one power. Because the diaspora is not scattering, it is a circle. And tonight, that circle closes. As we move forward tonight, and my beloved panelists and co hosts begin to unmute and prepare to join the conversation, as well as those of you out there in the live chat, please do type your questions in large caps so that we're able to see them, read them, and possibly answer them live on air. So, as we move forward this evening, let the ancestors hear you. Let the spirits feel you. And let the motherland see you. Say Ayibobo for Haiti. Say Ashe for Africa. Say Amen for the Black Church. Say Alafia for the Orisha. Say peace for the Muslims. Say Anna for the Hoodoo doctors. Say respect for the Santeros. Say present for the ever present ancestors. Because tonight we rise as one, we speak as one, we remember as one. Ayibobo, Ashe, Amen, Alafia, and peace be unto you and yours. And as we move forward this evening, Ray Alexander, greetings and salutations to you and yours, the Queen Mother, Sister Tony Val Martinez, Brother Tyson Horn, greetings to you and yours as well, Brother Joshua Nallen, keep pushing forward, and our beloved Queen Mother Bianca Johnson Plessy. Greetings and salutations, one and all. What say you this evening, and how you doing?
Good evening, everyone on the panel and in the listening audience. I'm doing good.
Good evening, everybody.
Always a blessing.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. I have a question. I was listening to something, and it was about spiritualists. The spiritualists that Harry Houdini went after to get them outlawed, they were not the spiritualist churches of that we know, correct? Or were they?
No, that's correct. There was a popular trending, fadding thing going on right now, particularly in the white community, probably primarily in the white community, of seances and magic boxes and demonstrations of what was supposed to be ectoplasm, which was supposed to be some evidence of spirit realm, spirit connection. And so he sought after to sort of overturn that to bring that down.
Okay. And also, once they found out Marie Laveau was practicing voodoo, the Catholic Church kicked her out, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, they kicked her out.
That's my
As
understanding.
That's my understanding too. Yeah.
So Catholicism, once they learned what the enslaved Black people were doing with their so-called saints and guardians and figures and angels,
Yep.
when they discovered that, they tried to outlaw it, and it went underground.
But it wasn't the discovering of, because certainly they knew that we brought this spiritual practice with us going back to the late 1600s, or was it the demonstration of power, particularly the demonstration of power reinforced by the Haitian Revolution, which often fed many of the preconceived notions and attitudes, particularly here in Louisiana and New Orleans about voodoo.
Yeah.
And to further to that, Sister Tony, the synchronization of all those Loas and Orishas, with the Catholic iconography and everything, that was the reasoning for that. And then actually in reverse, a lot of the Loas and the Orishas that some of the Spanish and so forth people that were colonizing in the Caribbeans, they were seeing the respect for the deities, and then they started to promote iconography more in their practices. So there became more saints and so forths and images and depictions of the different spirits, if you would.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to say that I do agree with the fact that the Black church and their relatives of indigenous practices and African practices in terms of our community here. But we got to, it don't sit on my heart too well to say that they just like any relative that you have. You have good relatives, you have bad relatives. You have relatives that you need to put in place and hold them accountable for what they do. And you have relatives that you can have fun with and you can enjoy them and not have to really worry about all that. I don't think that the black church, and I don't think that any religious institution that's over here that came after indigenous practices, be it voodoo, hoodoo, conjure, or traditional practices of the Americas, came over here with a pure heart. So I can't sit here and totally agree with that. I know it's relative in terms of our experience, but in terms of their relationship towards us and their attitude towards us, I mean, they used to call us, as they used to phrase it back in the 1600s, as religious heathens, which I can give you a definition of what that word is. It's specifically targeted to indigenous peoples and other earthly bound religious spiritual systems that we operate in. So that's my stance, and I just wanted to make sure that I kind of put that into there because it is why we face what we face nowadays in terms of our black communities, the division within our communities, the oppositions within our communities, and a lot of these religious leaders in our communities are spies for government officials or government entities that are not that may not have our best interest in mind. I mean, we look at what we're facing right now with our government now, and all the things that's happening in terms of uh, that signals revolution in a way. All these warehouses that are burning. I know you had one of the first videos you had on today was talking about Congo and the revolution and the wars and stuff going over there. But the same things that kind of things are elevating over here in that way. And I think speaking to that and not speaking to what's happening and it's tied to the to our spiritual nature and our spiritual strength and our spiritual power in terms of understanding that we have seen these things before, we've lived through these things before, and we have to acknowledge them for what they are and why they're happening. It's not happening because people are trying to survive, people are trying to live, people are not making a living, or people are not having their means taken care of in a major way. And a lot of that was curtailed in the beginning by introducing us to other practices, other ways of being, other religious systems outside of our
You
original
know,
being.
it's interesting, brother Josh, as you talking about that, and I think that it's touchy, because I know you, and I know your heart, and I know your soul love when it comes to indigenous, Native Americans, that Native American bloodline that flows through you, that you're tied to it, you know. But it's such a search because, like, for instance, one of the books that I just got recently was The African Origin of Christianity, and I had to stop and say to myself, it's like, and I know that a lot of the teachings that we have gotten have been taken from African origins, right? Whether it be Egypt, whether it be natives, the homies, whomever it may have been taken from. And I know a lot of times things get whitewashed, if you would. The hard part I feel is looking past the atrocities, looking past the obstructions and the bastardization of the religions, so that way you can see the core. Like, for instance, when the colonizers came to America and a lot of that stuff was going on, the people who were trying to follow the way, if you would, they would do good sometimes. But then the people who were using it to their advantage, they were doing it bad. Just kind of like how we see in America today. You got a lot of people that stand on a certain platform that claim to be a certain thing. And then when you see their actions, it's like you can ask yourself, how in any realm could you claim to be this if this is what you're doing, if this is your standpoint, if this is how you view your fellow American, if you would. So, but I think that for the people who seek and the people who want to see unity, it's like it's up to us to find the truth in these matters, so that way when we speak, that somehow our voices reign louder than the people who are doing this mundane stuff that we see all the time that don't make no sense, because it don't make sense to us. I know exactly where you're coming from, but it's we have to look past. We got to look past it, because if we don't look past it, then we may be losing the truth, because we may be feeling like, like, for instance, there's, I'd say there's one thing I jump off. Like, for instance, I'm a part of an order that follows certain ancient traditions. Yeah. And in those ancient traditions, it's brought to America by a certain class of people. Yeah. But I know that they got those traditions off the walls and off the in Egypt. You know what I'm saying? And so if I don't go to Egypt to look for the truth, then I could be blinded by what they're trying to feed me. So I got to go past to the source. And that's my little 2 cents on that. But I hear you, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you too, man. One thing we can't do is forget either, man. We can't forget. We got to move on. We got to move forward, but we can't forget, because we forget. We'll be. It'll be excuse me. Forgetting things.
And then we have to realize too that those with a European background have been fighting over religion for so many years, and they brought their battles here to the United States. They were calling other European people heathens long before they got here to see, to the islands and to the Americas, to see other people. So to them, by definition of their word heathen, that's why they called us heathens. I mean, the Catholics, everybody been fighting against them since forever. And they came here, and to me it looked like they say, well, now we finally get a chance to fight against somebody. It's the system. I mean, most of everybody that came here on a religious level came here for religious persecution. And then when they got here, they started persecuting people religiously.
I have a question.
They flipped the script. Go ahead. Who is speaking?
Yes. Thank you, Elder Tony. I had a question for Priest Ty or Divine Prince. It was on a point that Priest Ty just made about early Christianity and stuff, like things of that nature. And my question was, the longer you go into like some of the African traditional religions and some of the folk systems, you kind of see like a pattern, like of like reiteration of tales, of stories. Do you feel like it makes anything that's newer less valid if it's a retell of a retell of a retell? Like some of the stories from the Bible were taken from like the research. Some of the stories were taken from Kemet. Do you believe that like these are like different iterations, or do you believe that the Supreme Spirit puts several type of archetypes all over the world and it kind of like replays? Like there's I don't want to say Jesus-like figure, but like there's certain figures that have to appear to certain groups of people across the world in certain cycles. Does that make kind of sense?
I understand exactly what makes sense. I mean, I was raised Christian. I was raised in the church, went to church 7 days a week, literally. And I have a reason for being there 7 days a week. And Saturday we clean the church. So I know that for the most part, it's been said that what we follow today in regular churches is it's the 16th version of Christ. Mm-hmm. So there are many iterations, there are many versions, there are many I think that with anything, we're talking about voodoo here, it's about spirit, right? And so in my opinion, this is my opinion. My opinion, based on what I've been taught and what I see and what I am practicing, whatever version of deity, whatever version of religion that sets well with you. It's like I told my son one time, I said, we walking through the forest. I said, you see all these trees, they're different. I said, you know, pick one that you feel suits you best, that fits your climb, because they're all aiming towards the heavens. They're all going up. And if you practice, whether it be Buddhism, Islam, Voodoo, Christianity, Santeria, whatever you do, the heart and core of spirit is loving one another. So a lot of times we get so wrapped up in, well, my doctrine is right and your doctrine is right. No, it doesn't say that. And no, you're wrong because it's this. And we get so wrapped up in the humane aspects. And at the end of the day, we probably are all just products of some other organization that brought us here to do a certain work. It's a lot that goes on when it comes to trying to identify. But at the same time, at the end of the day, in any religion, in any practice, there are people that are going to stand out as true and stand out as humble and loving and caring. And there's people that's going to use that religion as a way to conform and manipulate and oversee and overpower people, depending on the religion. Because you can look, I mean, Netflix got a ton of documentaries out of people leading people astray with, i.e., religion. But to your point, brother, you know, I think that it's best that once you deep dive into whichever practice that you feel in your heart suits you best, because I didn't have all the answers answered for me in the church, you know, and I took my stepmom to mass this past Easter, and I looked around the congregation and I'm saying to myself, amid all the things that we see when it comes to corruption in religion to this day, people still are grasping onto something, and they were still there in droves. So it's like we have to just sometimes not hurt the next man for their walk, but look at them, and when we can guide them, if they have questions that we can answer, then we help them, but we don't chastise them when they don't seem to know the full story like we know.
Okay.
That's good that you and that is good that you have mentioned that when we talk about like religions and government and stuff, because you know, before religious groups, you know, before everything was broken up, you know, every culture and everybody had their own way of their beliefs of who God was or ancestors and stuff was. And I just remember like my grandmother, even though my grandmother is like heavy in the Bible and church and everything, sometimes older people, they just say things, but you have to listen to them and catch them when they say things. And my grandma, she'll be praying all that stuff, and we'll be in church and everything, but then at the same time when we talk about religion, she'll be like, oh yeah, you know, we all didn't start that way, you know, religious is just basically a control thing, you know, control to put people in order, put people in line, put people in order. And it's almost kind of just like a slave, you know, like being a slave to a system, but to a different, like you say, different group of organization. You know, everybody have rules and laws that they have to abide by, or if you don't abide by it, then you'll be punished or whatever religious that you decide that you believe in. So when she broke it down to me, I was kind of confused. So I'm like, so basically they created these different, broke them up in different religious groups just for all of us to still be a slave to some type of religions or some type of group or society, even if it's Catholic, um Baptist, or you know, whatever that people chose to believe, or can we just be openly spiritual belief to anything without having to categorize ourselves into a group of laws?
Elder Bianca, do you know anything about the Tower of Babel?
No.
Okay. It's okay. That we don't have enough time for that today, but it's basically, but like I bring that up because I always think about like how language was used to divide humanity and like from getting to a certain point to, you know what I mean, in certain religious beliefs. And I always try to think about like how religion plays into that, and if there is a universal language and a universal religion. And then to tie that back, I like to think about how we started in the very beginning when we were talking about saints and mass and synchronicity. And where do you draw the line between that synchronicity and then some people blurring the lines and saying this spirit is the spirit versus this spirit is the face of this spirit? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I want to go back to what Brother Joshua was saying about, the black church, and a lot of the black churches are spies for the powers that be. We have to remember and research how the black church came to be and what it stood for to our elders at the time. The person who first during slavery, I believe, who had the ear of the leading group was the person we called Mammy on the plantation. Men didn't pretty much have too much clout with the massa. Then, as time went on and we were given religion, and after slavery ended, the towns that were, the people were separated. And whenever there was a problem, let's say the tracks, on the wrong side of the tracks, the blacks on one side, the whites on the other side, black people had no politicians, no political clout at that time. The strongest person in the black community was the preacher. And that's who the white sheriff went to whenever there was a problem. They talked to the preachers and the deacons, and they told them this, that, and the other thing. And they say, no, you're going to go back and tell the people this, that, and the other thing.
They
And
still do
those
that.
ministers, I know, but those ministers thinking they were keeping the peace, keeping a civil war in that town from breaking out, similar to what happened in other black towns like Rosewood and everything else. So they did what they were told to do, and they reported back, knowing, really, they knew, but they in their heart thought that they were keeping the peace. So when they trained other future preachers, they trained them in the same manner. And any preachers that seemed to go against that, well, they were disappeared. So, everybody think that MLK was rushing to be the speaker for the civil rights. No, they approached him 3 times. He didn't want it. Abernathy wanted it, but he didn't have the charisma that King had and keeping the people's ear. So the powers that be wanted King, and how they pulled him in, they kept having the ministers that they control invite him to speak at these funerals for people that had been killed due to race. And it was like quicksands for him. He just kept getting sucked in deeper and deeper and deeper into it. But he was approached 3 times, and he told them no. Why? We happy as we are. They wanted integration. We didn't want integration. They wanted integration because they wanted their money back out of our pockets that stayed. We got the money from them from working on their jobs, brought it back to the black community, and because we weren't allowed in their stores, the money stayed there. And what happens if you keep pulling out of one pitcher into one glass, something gonna come up empty and something gonna overflow. And that's what they averted with the civil rights movement. And they used religion as their weapon to get this achieved. So
You know,
yes,
yeah.
Go ahead. Who is it?
I'm sorry, Sister Tony. This is Brother Tyson. I didn't want to interrupt you on your thought, but I wanted to jump in to go along with what you were saying.
Oh, okay. So religion is a weapon to separate and divide people here now. That's what they use, religion. And they still using it by separating Jews, Muslims, everybody else apart now, especially right now. And it seems that one time the odds are against the Jews. Right now, the Jews are doing all the stuff to people. Before, people was doing all the stuff to Jews. The Muslims was doing all the stuff to people. Now people doing all the stuff to Muslims. And it's all orchestrated. And too many people fall prey to that. It's just like Brother Tyson said, he brought his grandmother to church. And it's so much information out here about the religion, the arts of religion, what religion is, what religion has done. But people still cling to it.
Yeah.
You would literally think that in this day and age, churches would really be on the decline, which the Roman Catholic Church is on the decline. It really is. And how you know is because they're having to close schools, they're closing churches because they don't have enough parishioners to keep them open. So churches are on the decline, especially when I was in Memphis. One thing I noticed, because I would just ride around like Sunday drive throughout Memphis, the area of Memphis, and you saw a lot of churches up for sale. A lot of churches up for sale. Remember when you was kids and you used to like count cars, or how many red cars you see, or how many green cars you see? I would count how many churches.
But Sister Tony, you know what I would do when I was young, and you ride up and down the street, especially, you know, if I'm up from up north, and even in the south, you see it. But I would drive down and there'll be a church on every corner, seemed like. And I used to say, well, why they got a church on every corner? Can't they just, you know, get one big building and join together? Like I used to ask those questions when I was a kid. And my grandmother would just, you know, she'd give me some kind of slick answer or so forth. But, you know, the one thing that I was thinking about while you was talking, and just to go back to Brother Joshua's point, the one thing I get disappointed with is how individuals who do evil and individuals who are blatantly evil, right, or do evil things in the common eye, it's like they represent whatever. Like, for instance, if somebody black does a crime, it's now all of a sudden he's representing the black race. If somebody does something and they say they're a Jew, or they say they're a Christian, or, you know, Palestinian, or whatever it may be, Muslim, that they now represent the whole race, or the whole religion. And I think that a lot of times it's like it's hard to discern who's really at fault. Whether, you know, are they represent good or represent evil? But like, even to go along with, you know, we started off talking about Christianity, you know, there's that passage that says, you know, you can tell a tree by its fruit, you know. And so I think that for us in the community that we're in, one of the things that we see, while all those churches are closing, one of the things that we see is an uprise in people searching, people looking. If you go into a metaphysics shop or some type of botanica, you'll see everyone there looking for crystals, looking for candles, looking for stones, incense, looking for something that they can cling to, because innately people want to cling to something higher than themselves, cling to the fatherhead, the motherhead of a creator, to feel to feel close to. And what happens is, with traditional practices of most religions, if whatever their line in the sand is on whatever certain topic, that's what shuns people away. So then you have churches and other congregations that will accept it. You know, we go on about the black church sometimes. You know, you'd be hard pressed to find, you know, churches where, I mean, I'm starting to go down a different road, a different avenue, because I was about to start talking about the choirs and what you see and that type of thing. You know, I'm going, brother. So it's like, you know, it's hard not to see certain things that you would say, well, wait a minute, but don't y'all disagree with this? But at the same time, it's like those lines keep getting pushed back, but then at the same time they just get full on embraced. I mean, there was a woman bishop recently, you know, inducted. So there's a lot of things that are changing, but most people, when they're searching because they don't feel welcomed where they were raised into a lot of times.
I think what we're seeing is a lot of disillusionment. I think for me and Bianca and Joshua might be in the same kind of age range. I think being a millennial or Gen Z, you grew up, you see a lot of the shenanigans in the church, and it doesn't connect real time with what you're saying. And I think certain generation, like critical thinking, is like a real skill. And so you battle yourself when you say, okay, you're telling me to do this, but I'm seeing all this stuff happen and it doesn't coincide with my spirit. And now you're saying God gave me dreams, but like now you're saying that's the devil. Or you saying, oh, I can, God gave me the ability to feel the pain of others, you know what I mean? To be a healer. And now you're saying that's witchcraft. I think you're just seeing like people willing to go outside of the box of what society says is okay or not to connect with spirit. And you know, just to follow up on that, I think when that Drewski skit that happened a few weeks ago hit it right on the button. It's the hypocrisy. It's the hypocrisy.
We'll have to carry on this conversation. We well above our time again. The conversation is so good. I'm gonna have to turn it over to the Divine Prince to close us out, and we'll continue this tomorrow night.
Mr. Tony, you made some red beans and rice today?
No.
Okay.
I had some.
Oh man, I just realized it's Monday and I ain't getting that.
No, I was out running other errands. I'm trying to move, and I was procuring a house in boxes, and I went to the buffet to eat.
I was going to ask you if you ever cut up some sausage to throw in there, and maybe some neck bones, some smoked neck bones with the beans.
Oh, of course.
That's the recipe.
And now I don't use pickled pigtails. I use pickled turkey necks. And they set the beans off the chain with some smoked turkey necks. And
we're gonna have to come back and do another podcast on that, Sister Tony.
I know. Well, I'm gonna turn it over to the Divine Prince to close us out.
Yes, we certainly have a lot still to unpack as it relates to this topic. And as Brother Joshua clearly noted, we are still going through decolonization, many of us, and certainly that demographic of Sister Bianca, Joshua, and Ray Alexander are certainly maybe the first generation to be on the other side of that unpacking and decolonization process. But how and where do we draw the line? To what point do we, decolonize without, throwing out the baby with the bathwater, my grandmama used to say, without losing those parts of us that Sister Tony mentioned, have a root in our practice and our tradition, which have been long masked and or forgotten. So we certainly appreciate your continued support and participation, as well as those of you out there in the viewing and participating chat audience. Thank you so much for joining us, Real Radio Talk. We certainly appreciate you coming on in with us tonight. We're always thankful for those who join us by way of our Perspective Facebook pages, groups, profiles, certainly our regional, local, national, and international listenership by way of LinkedIn, YouTube, X, formerly known as Twitter, and always thankful for our IG, Instagram participants. Call Me If You Get Lost joined us. We certainly appreciate you. Walking Faith Kid, Cat joined us. We certainly appreciate you for joining. Jack LBC joined us. Thank you so much. We certainly appreciate you. Empress Nehemiah joined us again this evening. Thank you so much for your continued support and participation. Sand Blazing Star, thank you for joining us. Kashinal 2027 joined us. We appreciate you. TR3BL3, thank you for joining us this evening. DJ Double X, we certainly do appreciate you. Kimani 0925, thank you for joining us. Ladner Phillip, we certainly appreciate your presence and your energy. Smash Out Q, I believe I'm saying that right. Thank you so much for joining us. The Gardner, we certainly do appreciate you. Uncle Reggie for President, we certainly appreciate your support and participation. Lalaris 99 joined us. We appreciate you. Nia Roots 1, thank you for joining us. 24 Karat Gold, we certainly appreciate you. And I Vibes as well joined us. And again, we look forward to you joining us again tomorrow night. 4C Below, we certainly appreciate you at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on a platform near you or by way of our URL streaming somewhere on your screen at this moment or by way of our QR code in the upper left corner of the screen with a little StreamYard ducky head in it. Again, we're always thankful and appreciative of your support and participation. We have somewhere around 30 days, maybe 31 days until our third annual New Orleans International Voodoo Day. We certainly encourage your support, your participation, your volunteership, your support of our GoFundMe, your sponsorship, your donations, and come out, be a part of this expanding international event. Until next time, remembering that all is truly indeed a blessing if you can see beyond the veils, for it is all just an illusion and a test and one of the greatest divine mysteries of this life cycle. Shay, Ayibobo, good night. Odabo.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Where am I?
You are in hell. Now you will
Shut up and listen to me, you rejected experiment with horns. You are standing here acting powerful, like heaven didn't kick you out like a bad habit. You didn't fall, you were escorted out. Heaven looked at you and said, delete this mistake. You didn't choose darkness, light rejected you first. Look at you, walking failure with horns. Imagine starting a war and getting kicked out before it even began. That's not failure, that's embarrassment with wings attached. You call this hell your kingdom? This is not a kingdom. This is where your career came to die. From heaven to managing fire like a disappointed janitor. Even the fire here looks tired of burning for you. You didn't become the devil. You became what was left after greatness rejected you. Even failure looks at you and feels successful. Those horns, that's proof you lost everything and kept the decoration. Even angels don't mention your name. They call you that mistake we deleted. Even rejection sees you and feels accepted. You tried to compete with perfection and ended up supervising suffering. That's not a fall. That's a public downgrade. You didn't become evil. You became irrelevant. Even disgrace looks at you and says, I have standards. Darkness avoids you because you make it look weak. Betrayal looks at your history and says, that was badly executed. Chaos sees you coming and feels organized. Embarrassment watches you and feels dignified. Regret looks at your existence and says, I'm not that bad. You didn't choose darkness. Darkness was the only place that tolerated you. You're not the ruler of hell. You're the reminder that even perfection can produce something it regrets. You're not the devil. You're evidence that failure can still be loud. Even emptiness looks at you and feels full. Because the only thing worse than your fall is how confidently you are still pretending it didn't happen.
Allow me to show you something.
They say I'm crazy and that might be true. I got this white in my DNA, yeah, I'm coming for you. It's time we turn the table, strip these motherfuckers on you. I wanna see you hanging from trees, it's time you pay for your dirt and your showtime. You created the monster, you created the beast. Now all this savagery you just gon' reap. I'm coming home, daddy, to the plantation, and I'm taking the lives of everybody, including the children, on some Nat Turner away. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. I met my girl Harriet at the gate. If you wanna know how she doing, yeah, she straight. But she had one question: when we gon' get up? All that talking tough, yeah, we don't walk it tough. She got it locked and loaded, got that piece up on her side. She looked me in my eyes and said, "Meet you ready to ride?" Moving forward, you gotta use both eyes. Watch your front and watch your back. Keep your hands up on your gas. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. He sit at the table, but he don't order no bacon. He greet me in those words, assalamu alaikum. Got them glasses on his face and them waves in his head. He go by the name of Detroit Red. He looks me in my eye and says, you only get one try. Know that your biggest opposition will come from the inside. I know you wanna love them all, but don't even try, because they'll smile up in your face while plotting your demise. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down.